Anakin! I have the high ground! You underestimate my power!
My relationship with Star Wars is complicated. It isn't everybody's. I mean, people love this or hate that, or love this or hate that, or hate part of this but part of that. No lecture on the evils of consumerism, because you already know that. You know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say this was made for toys, it's for toys, it's all toys. So instead, I figured this franchise is big enough I can just talk about the actual media, and not have to recap every little fucking detail. This is Star Wars, a film developed outside the corporate machine, one with the troubled production, where at any moment it could all fall apart. Through the magic of post-production, this shit show came together. The directing, the pacing, the music, you cut any of it out and it would be terrible. It is one of the true wonders of this universe that this worked as well as it did. Regardless, it's spectacular, it's engaging, and most of all, it's just hilarious. The basic plot has the complexity of a two-part episode of Tailspin. This is good guy. He learns about responsibility, defeats bad guy with the help of the friends he made along the way. That's the movie. That's the Star Wars. It's a live-action cartoon. It doesn't waste too much time with the illusion of emotional weight because, you know, it's really hard to take anything in this film that seriously. The sets are impressive, although sometimes made out of paper mache. Now, one of the greatest assets this film has is its character design. And no, I'm not talking about these guys or even Vader. I mean, they're fine, I guess, but mostly the stuff I care about is this. That's a Scrumble. This is a Plumbee. This guy looks how I feel inside. This 2-hour assortment of images gives me pure whimsy. The space wizard screams. The bear man plays a board game. The robot goes beep. And then you have these antagonists. No, let's not call them that. They don't deserve this name. It's too pretentious for the film. These are plain and simple bad guys. They have no depth, no purpose. They are just bad. This whole movie is cheesy, hokey fun. Do I enjoy it for the same reasons most people do? I don't know, probably not. But nonetheless, this is great. This is just amazing. Now, I prefer to view this movie in a vacuum. Try and forget what comes after the story and what came before. Forget about the merchandise and the box office. Just think of it as a single film. When you don't weigh it down with pretense or context, it's a fun space adventure with decent special effects and this thing. But if something works, and oh boy did this work, you're gonna get another. Star Wars 2, Empire Strikes Back. Rather than continue with the same tone as the original, this film would be a more grisly tale, one of love, of hate, fear, and lust. Now, I do give it credit for being different. It's not just the easy out, more of the same route that most people expected. It expanded our characters' motivations and the world around them and gave us twists and turns along the way, but you know, I don't like it. I don't like this movie. I don't enjoy it. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a competent film. It surpasses the original in technical achievement. The effects look better, the fancy pants directing, the better dialogue, and our actors, they're acting better. But at the same time, this film loses most of that whimsy from the original. The characters were generic archetypes, sure, and now they get to be a little bit more fleshed out and whatnot, but I can't help but feel like they didn't need to be. None of this needed to be. Because I don't care about Star Wars when it takes itself too seriously. I just don't. It's weird to me. And stuff like adding in the dark side of the Force, that's pointless. I mean, it just creates a further black and white morality compass that doesn't make engaging characters. Okay, take this. In the original, Darth Vader is just a former Jedi who uses his powers for evil. He's not on the spectrum of light and dark. Obi-Wan dies and becomes a voice in Luke's head. It's cheesy, but so is the rest of the movie. Who cares?
I'm Luke.
Now we got ghosts? Why aren't the other Jedi Obi-Wan talked about in the first film ghosts? Why isn't there just an army of ghosts helping out the rebels? And I don't know, maybe that's a bad example, but if you want to make a dramatic film, these issues start to actually matter. In the original, plot holes are as easy to ignore as saying it's a fun romp through the galaxy, don't give a shit. But when the film is trying to engage you in the stakes in the story, it does matter. This is why the Star Wars canon and fans retroactively change stuff to fix continuity errors, because, well, it actually matters now. And that's why my favorite scene in this whole movie, the only one I really like, is Dagobah. Yoda being Yoda. He's perfect. Whimsy returned to its rightful place. Look at him. What a hero. Also Space Worm. I like the Space Worm. Surely much of the initial appeal of this film was the surprise. But yeah, I don't think this movie needed to exist. Huge films get sequels. It's inevitable. But this film might have done more damage to the Star Wars brand than it did good. And I'll get to that later. Jedi is, how do I describe it? It's so fucking weird. It's got a completely different tone compared to Empire, and I love it for that. Jabba's palace alone gives us this, and this, and this. The Rancor is adorable. This guy's reaction to dead Rancor is the saddest thing in all of Star Wars. The Gonk droid gets more screen time than in any other movie. Luke walks in like an edgy teenager and fights Ganon. And of course, we got that scene that turned every boy into a man. A sexy Greedo. And Boba Fett, everybody's favorite warrior who's in Empire for like 5 minutes. He dies like a little punk bitch. He falls into a giant bird hole. And you know what, actually, I think the George Lucas Special Edition changes actually work in this film. They elevate it.
Who did that?
Because it's already so far off the deep end, so fucking insane, that I have to embrace the chaos. Just let it all burn down. And this is all in like the first 20 minutes of the movie. But our joyous celebration of puppets is soon interrupted by a sad celebration of puppets. That's right, Yoda dies. And yeah, it's pretty rough seeing him go, but it's also really dumb, because within the time frame of Empire and Jedi, which was what, maybe a couple weeks, and he's like 900, so he went from a happy fucking frogman to dead. You know what, why not? Something else happens, probably, I don't really remember, but then the fancy ass speeder chase. This scene is gold, not from an action standpoint, because it looks like this, but and then these. I used to hate them quite a bit, actually. I mean, they're just tiny Chewbacca's. They took the word Wookiee and just flipped it around. You sell toys, it's easy stuff. But now, in my broken state, with the rest of the film in context, I can't help but fucking love them. I mean, when we meet them, they capture our heroes. They worship C-3PO as a god, and they prepare to eat everybody. And C-3PO is completely willing to let this happen, because he's just done with this bullshit. Then he flies around, and everyone's happy, and they sing a couple songs. The Empire finds them, and shenanigans ensue. This fight, that Luke gives himself up. He talks to Vader a bit, and he finally meets him. The Emperor. This fucking glorious beacon of light. Everything he says is poetry. Then the Ewoks destroy the Empire. Yeah, that's it. That's how it happens. Everything, all this, it's all pointless. Because Ewoks just win by throwing some rocks. That's it. In between all this and the happy fun times, the forest creatures, we get this scene. Is this supposed to show us the stakes are high again? I can't. Luke gets angry and he goes boom, boom, and he just keeps hitting him. Then the Emperor gets sick of his shit and shoots lightning out of his fingers, and he just starts monologuing. And he keeps giving Luke a good shock or two during this. And Vader, you see the contemplation in his eyes, the struggle of good and evil. And then Vader, he picks up the Emperor and he throws him with some construction hazard. And Vader dies, and Luke cries, and the Ewoks burn his body. Everyone dances, there's the ghost of young Anakin, that's... You know what, that's Star Wars. That's fucking Star Wars. At least it was, for a while. And then after years of gestated fandom, of anticipation, many grew fanatic over their childhood loves. These films weren't just good, they were the best. And the best of the best? You know, I think people saw this as a kid and thought, yeah, that's really cool. Why isn't Jedi that cool? It's just silly, fun. And I want shooty, gun. People wanted Star Wars to be edgy, to be about life and death, serious conflict for serious boys. Nostalgia. It's nostalgia, guys. Even in the original trilogy, 2 of the 3 films are just weird-ass fun adventures. And people gravitated towards Empire because when you're a kid, big action boom equals cool. So when I look at all 3 of these films, I think weird-ass shit is probably a better representation of the series at this point. The Star Wars prequels were announced, and then the movies came out. You know, I suppose if this was truly the worst possible take on Star Wars, I would say these were good films. I can't bring myself to say that. I don't think anyone really can, because they're not good films. But I will give them this. For all the stupid shit, the abysmal dialogue,
Are you an angel?
if you haven't seen Plinkett's reviews, just go see that. I can't add anything in a critique that they haven't done, but I will say this. Jar Jar is, how do I put this? He's actually probably the best part of the film, because everything he says, everything he does crosses that line of human decency to a point where I can't help but respect him.
I killed them. I killed them all. They're dead. Every single one of them. And not just the men, but the women and the children too. And I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them.
Then we got another long break, lots of expanded media, very much with the tone of taking itself too seriously. And then you know the rest. George Lucas gives it to Disney and Kathleen Kennedy and Porgs. And yeah, I probably just walk into a minefield here. The films are contentious, to say the least. But I'll try my best to navigate it with some integrity. Force Awakens is fucking garbage. It's a terrible film. Who cares? It's nostalgia pandering trash. Fucking who cares? Fuck you, J.J. Abrams. He's a fucking
Let me go! No! Stop! No!
The way J.J. Abrams writes stuff is by creating questions and letting future writers answer them. It means he picks the easiest way to write a story, as in not doing it. So all the questions asked in this movie are pointless. Everything else is nostalgia. Who fucking cares? Then some spin-offs happen. I kind of forgot about these, to be honest, but I saw one that came out, so, shit. I think Rogue One was bad. They put in a cool battle at the end, so you'd all forget about how bad it was. Solo was... fuck, I don't know. I can't remember it at all. Let's just give it a solid 6 out of 10. Not enough sexy Greedo. But during all this, we got the most divisive film in history. That's right. It is... You know what? I actually like it. You know why? You really want to know why? Because it just says fuck you to everything that Empire stood for. It's got some fun creatures and the casino scene is... I mean, the plot, I think it makes sense. It's twisty and Snoke was a nobody created by JJ because he's a lazy fucking hack, and this movie says no! He's dead. Luke doesn't give a shit. He's fucking amazing. I can't tell you how many times I yanked one out to this image. The Porgs are... This is why I like Star Wars. It's fun, it's dumb, and it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Saving what we love.
Now, it may be a controversial pick, but my favorite thing in Star Wars is this.
A day that takes us through the darkness. A day that leads us into light. A day that makes us want to celebrate the
Star Wars! Nothing but Star Wars!
this is not a joke. I truly love this. I don't want to spoil it too much for those that haven't seen it, but it is a work of art. First 10 minutes of Wookiees screaming with no subtitles. You got the cooking program, Luke in eyeliner, this guy, Grandpa's masturbating in the living room. This is all I ever wanted from Star Wars. The creatures are... the plot is... I don't even know. It's just a bunch of random scenes stuffed together. And I still feel genuine sadness when Lumpy gets his Bantha plush destroyed. This shows us what life in Star Wars is truly like. Beyond Jedi and the Force, it shows us what the average citizens do, what they're all fighting for. At some point, it does become a bit hard to follow as the Wookiees walk into the void, but these are just small pickles in the jar compared to the main course meal. Let me set the scene. In a small cantina on Tatooine, a lonely patron approaches the bar. His thirst could not be quenched by simple fluids. He desires more intimate juices. As he is rejected by his one true love, he falls into a drunken stupor and dies or something. The bar is closed down as a curfew is set in place. But before we leave these friends we've made, it's time for one more round.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more round.
In a way, this scene is the soul of Star Wars to me. It's what Star Wars is. I've accepted that this is not the direction Star Wars will go in. I've accepted my interest in the series is limited to a few films, but that's kind of how this franchise works for everybody, right? It's 3 separate trilogies, each with a different tone, 3 generations growing up to them, and everybody has a different perspective on what makes Star Wars Star Wars. There's something for everybody, but everybody won't like everything, and that's why no one will ever come to terms on a new Star Wars film. The franchise will probably be fine, it just needs a bit of a break. But for me, there's only one true Star Wars. One movie, and a holiday special. There's some good after that, and I'm fine with that, but if the series ended right here, that'd be perfect. It'd be an amazing niche 70s classic, probably not heralded as an epic, but a fun time nonetheless. This is the world I prefer. This is the Star Wars I prefer. On that note, it's time to say goodnight.
Good night, friend.